Firstly, I'd like to apologise for the missing part of session one. I have no idea what happened and how that got missed out. I think I got a little bit overwhelmed with all the research and missed that out, so I apologise. And please advise, within this 30-minute section was some video-based analysis so the children could watch themselves perform. It would have taken 15 minutes, and after this, a rally-based game in half the court was administered. First, I'm going to talk about the coaching process. I use Franks et al., and it's something that I'll refer to later on. And it's a way of analysing my coaching and reflecting on it. It's important to understand that coaching is complex, interrelated, and independent. It's not equally applicable in all circumstances, and what might work for one person or in one environment simply won't work in another, or not always. The context is crucial, as Coate and Gilbert have shown. Putting the needs and goals at the forefront of the coaching outlook is paramount. Lastly, to plan these sessions, a coaching process has been necessary, and the planning provides the link between aspiration, intention, and activity for the athlete. With context at the forefront of what coaches do, it's really important to understand who are the subjects, who are we coaching, and what are the contextual demands of coaching. The coaching was undertaken by two male participants who were 10 years old. The sport we were playing is tennis, and they were of intermediate ability. When considering how to plan for Year 5 students, there is much to consider, particularly noting that every individual has different needs, and these needs have to be considered for effective coaching. When considering the coaching of children, it's important to note that simply children are not mini adults, and many sports science principles that underpin conceptions of good practice just simply do not apply to children. For example, if you look at the purpose of much competitive adult sport, mainly the goal is to win at all costs, but Stafford has shown that children actually value fun more than winning. At the end of the day, children are active, inquisitive, curious, and playful. And we as practitioners should harness these attributes to our benefit and develop our children best as possible. Development isn't just created out of luck, and studies have been formulated to create models. The development model of sports participation was created by Coate to reduce dropout. It showed a gradual increase in specialization, placing a large emphasis on deliberate play. For the age group considered, the focus is on fundamental skills with games-based practices, creating a high level of deliberate play. You can see an example of this in Session 2, Part 5, where the children are playing in a rally game in which they call which hand they're hitting the ball with, which then develops into a competitive game to play their best in. The long-term athlete development model was one of the first prominent models to consider biological maturation, and it doesn't just place a large emphasis on the development of physical literacy, but also in developing the physiological, psychological, and mental capabilities, also improving on the social skills of the children. This social skill development can be highlighted throughout my sessions. With the teamwork, especially in one exercise between the children, they had to develop their own game. With the LTAD not showing detail in regards to when to train certain physical qualities and at what stage of the child's life, the youth development model was developed and highlights for this age group that development is on a neural basis and that strength, functional movement skills, and speed should be the main focus. This model was considered for my planning, and you can see an example in most of my warm-ups. I use SAQ warm-ups, which fits in with the model. So when I considered how to manage specialization, here are two contradicting theories. One that states specialization limits development, and the second which says having a broad range of domain-specific exercise or sport leads to superior success. The latter point is quite pertinent in sports like golf, tennis, and football. However, I believe there is value in both of these theories. You will often find children who are really passionate about one sport and play it wherever they can in whatever domain, but they also play other sports with different movements which will complement their foundational movement skills. I included a broad range of domain-specific exercise by asking the children to create a game at home, encouraging them to use it in unstructured play. And to tackle the issue of specialization, I've included movements not just specific to tennis, that will include foundational movement skills like jumping, squatting, landing, throwing, which are all essential for development across all sports. As mentioned, there is no blueprint to success, but I believe in sport like tennis, there needs to be some specialization to be successful at a high level. Lerner developed the 5 C's, and he was asked to sum up his model. And he said it is for the capacity for young people to develop in positive ways and to make important differences to themselves and others. Competence, not just academic, social, vocational, and health competence. Confidence, which is self-explanatory. Character, it's fundamental to do what's right. Connection, working collaboratively with parents, peers, siblings, teachers, coaches. And finally, caring, a sense of compassion or social justice. And I believe I've encompassed all of these elements within my 4 sessions. As an example, I encourage the students in session 1 in the introduction to take risks and experiment, but emphasize that I would totally support them and no judgment would be made. I would explain it as having their back, wanting to create a coach-athlete relationship, and a strong one at that. And this has been shown to be hugely beneficial to the development of players. To increase their confidence through increase their confidence through interpersonal knowledge, it's important that you understand your athlete. And although it is a short period of time, I endeavored to develop a strong interpersonal relationship. So when praise is delivered, it is more valued. When planning, it's obviously very important to cover safety. So safeguarding will be adhered to at all times, leaving no child vulnerable. A risk assessment will be carried out for all activity sessions. Consent forms will be carried out and signed before gathering data and filming, and DBS checks will have been completed prior to coaching sessions. My pedagogical approach for the coaching was certainly athlete-centered and concentrated on the use of games approach and skills and drills to develop the athletes. It's worth considering that amount of actual games-based exercise in tennis can be limited by age and ability, but I have employed it where possible. Questioning played a large part of my pedagogy, utilizing it to develop decision-making in sessions. As an example, I might ask the question, why might you look at your body position of the opponent? These types of questions probe, and they help the individual learn about the opposition or themselves to make better decisions. I like to keep my coaching dynamic and often include different rule changes. I'll even ask the players to change the rules, giving them ownership. This is exampled by progressions in my session plans, adding rules accordingly to the ability and based on how well the exercise is going. But ultimately, this creates challenges for the players to adapt and develop from. And also reflection plays a large role of developing the player and myself. Basic approach of the game sense is to use simple games where the stress on technique is reduced. This can be applied as students were competent enough at tennis to do so. An example of this game-based learning is Session 2, Section 5, where students play a basic rally game, again, and they call which hand they're hitting it with. There are different aspects to the game, and as with lots of my sessions, progressions will be included if they are able. Questioning is used to generate dialogue. For example, I may ask a divergent question like, why should you volley? Which would open discussion and engage students. Collaborative formulation is encouraged in my sessions through a player-led game when I asked the pupils to collaborate and make a game together based on the game that they made at home, with some homework that I gave them. This drives teamwork and collaboration. Lastly, developing a socio-moral environment can be displayed through my behavior and explanation that mistakes are not bad and used as a tool to learn, showing compassion and support. Video analysis will be used on an iPad to film the children so we can see them playing shots. Forehand shots and backhand shots will be the focus, and feedback will be given for improvement. The benefit of using video analysis is that children can actually view their movements numerous times and get good feedback. This process has been proven to increase learning of motor skills. A basic athlete assessment was carried out in which I tried to understand the whole picture of the child, considering sporting experience through the use of questioning and ability that is gradually determined throughout the session. And the ability of the child is gradually determined throughout the first session. No specific criteria was used to judge the individuals, just a judgment from myself of the ability of the children, trying to get a picture of where the children were strong and weak. If it were possible, the opportunity to speak to the parents or teachers would be valuable to understand the child's general well-being and responsiveness to training. A very basic self-assessment was carried out at the beginning of the first session and at the last, recognizing that reflection and evaluation can improve motivation, leading to pride and positive achievement. Sorry, that's for that slide. Sorry, ignore that. A very basic self-assessment was carried out at the beginning of the first session and at the end of the last, recognizing that reflection and evaluation can improve motivation, leading to pride and positive achievement, offering realistic appraisals. Questioning was a tool that I used to provoke thought and stimulate discussion, allowing a genuine interaction between the coach and those in the lesson. In doing so, this develops coach-athlete relationship. I rely more heavily on divergent questioning unless the group is particularly struggling. And a simple example of the divergent question that I use is, how can you be better at this? This allows for exploration and doesn't pigeonhole to one answer. I make a habit of never answering my own questions, only giving hints if needed. Questioning plays a large role in the game sense approach, so I utilize it well. Praise is an excellent tool to give a child confidence, and this confidence likely improves the coach-athlete relationship. There are two contradicting statements, and that's why I believe that context is key to the amount of praise used. If a child is lacking confidence, the use of regular praise is far more effective. An example of this in my coaching plan would simply be by saying, well done, excellent shot. Instruction plays a crucial role in describing and defining the exercises, and particularly the possibilities of play in the game sense approach. However, I would limit the use of instruction as it may create overload, but also limits creativity. It's inevitable that modeling needs to take place. However, where possible, I would try and use the students to give examples. However, it is crucial to understand that the skill level of the children is important to understand the skill level of the children in order for it to be effective. Hodge and Franks encourage attention onto the feedback and the effects of the action. An example in my coaching would be if a child models a tennis forehand, the emphasis would be placed on the feedback that they got off the movement and where it landed and why it landed there, and so on. As per my coaching process, I continually reflected and evaluated, and crucially would have used Sean's in-action and on-action to adapt sessions where needed. Cushion explained that without a form of reflective process, coaches simply accrue these experiences without any meaningful impact on their practice. One of the ways I would like to achieve this is through communities of practice. In summary,